April day. Time to go for a bike ride, and we're gonna ride up to the sort of west side of the airport to the RCAF Heritage Park, Winnipeg, and airport. Riding north on Mount Royal, it comes to the approach end of runway 36. Here we are at the south end of the airport there. There's CFB Winnipeg off to the left hand side a bit. We'll turn east and yeah, so this is CF5 at the RCAF Heritage Park, Winnipeg. It's parked near the just west of the corner of Ness Avenue and Sharp Boulevard. An old friend of mine, John LaRue, was working at Bristol Aerospace now in Magellan when they're remanufacturing or overhauling the F5s, and John managed to get two of these I think Mark 82 snake eye bombs. I don't know what they are, 1,000 pounders or 500 pounders. Get them time expired, and got them to get mounted on the CF5, painted in the blue nose squadron markings. If you're coming down Ness Avenue and heading west from Polo Park, you know you're getting close to Ken's Place when you see the CF5 up on its monument. I love the look of this jet. It's very sleek. Just nice lines on it. We're just going to head up north up this back lane. Perimeter Airlines Dash 8 taking off, heading south. It's a strong south wind, and there are the hangars at CFB Winnipeg. Now we're coming up to a Beechcraft Musketeer. This was used by the Canadian Armed Forces, or now the RCAF, as a basic trainer in CFB Portage in the 80s. Yeah, this part of the Air Force Heritage Park, you can access it if you go west on Ness Avenue from Polo Park, or if you're coming off Portage Avenue, just turn north on Sharp Boulevard, come up Sharp Boulevard, cross Ness Avenue, and it's about half a kilometer north on Sharp Boulevard, or Air Force Way it's called. And you know, first aircraft you see coming up this way will be the Beech Musketeer. Yeah, it's a nice bike ride. You can just come up the sidewalk here, or take the trail along the solid airport fence. There's a trail that goes off to the west along the south airport fence. And here we are as a Grumman tracker. And there's an over here we have the Grumman tracker. Also newly repainted. It's in Royal Canadian Navy colors. The S2F Tracker, or Stoof sometimes it was nicknamed as. You can see the Navy markings on the bottom of the wing. I suppose that's where they discharge the sonobuoys out of the back of the engine nacelle. A resting hook for carrier operations. Very nice restoration. You even got the right radio engines now in the cowlings. And the radar bubble on the bottom of the fuselage. Big wide bladed props on this girl. And on the bottom of the fuselage you can see the hook where they would have hooked up the catapult launch bridle onto that hook. Wheel B. Next up is the Kiowa helicopter, manufactured by Bell Helicopter in Montreal, I believe. I guess a civilian version would be called the Jet Ranger. This one had a paint job a few years ago, but some flaking around the doors. Is that the Silver Falcon emblem on the back there? guess the best way to get some real good shots of these aircraft and displays is with a little drone, but being right at the airport, it's probably a taboo. Not a good idea to have a drone around here. But this GoPro camera is working quite well. And that's the Bell Kiowa helicopter. Further in our ride, we come up to the entrance to Air Command Headquarters at 17 Wing. We have 2 gate guards, the F-104 and the CF-101 Voodoo. CF-104 Starfighter, manufactured in Canada there, and they're licensed for Lockheed. Our late great pal, Tex Gaiman, was a maintenance test pilot in Cold Lake. Used to fly the 104. Said it was just a fabulous flying aircraft, low level. He said it rode like a Cadillac. Just cut through all the bumps and stuff. Nice thing about getting these spring pictures is that the leaves aren't out yet, so you can get some what made the 104 really unique is small wings and the huge tip tanks. At the end of the wings really made the aircraft stand out. T-tail. This is a runway cable resting hook. If you ran long on the runway, there's be an emergency cable stretched across the runway and you could catch it. Not based for carrier operations. T-tail made this aircraft subject to pitch up for pulling many G's and pulling back on the elevator and stalled off the wing. The ringing or the chimes you hear are not welcome bells for me. It's the ropes and the links on these flagpoles in this wind. They're banging against the flagpoles. And here we have the CF-101B Voodoo and 101 Wonder. Serial number 008. These are manufactured by McConnell Aircraft, later became McDonnell Douglas Aircraft, overhauled at Bristol Aerospace here right on Winnipeg, out on Barrie Avenue. These were bought from the stocks of the US Air Force after the Avro Arrow was cancelled and the Voodoo became Canada's all-weather interceptor. It was repainted last year. Looks very, very outstanding. Painted in the markings of 425 Alouette Squadron. Very nice. I believe the J75 engines are gone. The back's just sealed up. Not sure what missiles are mounted on the bottom there. I don't know if they're those Genie nuclear tipped missiles. The weapons bay was a revolving bay, so it would turn, put the missiles out there, and it would fire them off. Infrared seeking missiles, I believe. So this is the main area of the Air Force Heritage Park. The Garden of Memories is just further on that way. This is beautiful eagle sculpture at it. I'm going to look at these three aircraft: CF-86 Sabre, CF-100 Canuck fighter, and the T-33 trainer, Canadair Challenger jet over there, and off in the back is North American AT-6 Harvard trainer. First we'll look at the F-86 Sabre. Also nicknamed the Sword. Our late good friend Clark Tex Gaiman, he flew the F-86 Sabre while stationed in France and Germany. The Silver Falcon Squadron, said it was a beautiful jet to fly. I think it was his favorite jet, very maneuverable. And at the time when Canada had the F-86 in Europe, it was the top jet around there, and the Canadians were the top pilots. The time when we had a large, strong Air Force during the Cold War. T-33 Silver Star, officially known as the CT-133 Silver Star, manufactured by Canadair, licensed from Lockheed. One of my favorite jets. Instantly recognizable by those big tip tanks. You know, this jet was also painted a bright orangey red. It was flown by the Air Force as a demonstration airplane called the Red Knight. This aircraft is basic trainer paint scheme, used as a cross-country navigation trainer, early jet trainer, stationed up in Gimli, McDonald, Manitoba, Portage La Prairie. I think the Navy might have even had their own out at CFB Rivers for a while. I think last summer it got a paint job too, and it's looking pretty good. It's one of the first jets after the Second World War. So you can tell it's very basic, straight tail, no sweep in the wings. Yeah, if you see that view, you know that's a T-33. Those classic look with the tip tanks. The Avro CF-100 Canuck, manufactured by Avro Canada. Served from June 1951 to December 1981. This is a Canadian design and built all-weather jet interceptor. Built by Avro Canada, powered by an Orenda engine. The Canuck was built in the 50s, and its nickname was the Clunk. Or I believe when the landing gear went into the gear wells, it made a clunking noise, and they called it a clunk, or when the gear dropped down, it made a clunky noise. Anyway, this is Avro's jet fighter. Then they went on to design their Avro Arrow, which got cancelled, I think, after 5 prototypes were built. The Avro Arrow got cancelled. It's known as Black Friday, Canadian aviation history. Twin engine jet fighter. Fuel tanks on the wingtips now. At times they used to have rocket pods on the wingtips for air-to-air shooting of enemy aircraft. Fella I talked to named David Saunders, you might know the name from Saunders Aircraft. They started in Montreal, later in Gimli. He flew the CF-100, and he was doing a maintenance test flight one day and was pushing down to do some negative G's, and the injection seat rolled up the rails, knocked the canopy off. So Dave and the navigator Norm Groden struggled to stay in the cockpit. The slipstream eventually pulled out Norm Groden. Dave Saunders managed to hold on by the control stick and landed the aircraft successfully. And by chance, a civilian helicopter happened to be in the area and saw Norm Groden parachuting to ground, and landed and picked up Norm, took him back to the base at Bagotville. Very lucky day for Dave Saunders and Norm Groden. Here we have the Calendar Challenger. This one is designated as the CX-144 Challenger, manufactured by Canadair in Montreal. Later became Bombardier Aerospace. This one has the markings of a red X on the tail, which means it was used by AT up in Cold Lake, Alberta. AT, Aircraft Evaluation Test, or Aircraft Experimental Test and Evaluation, something like that. Google AT Cold Lake and you find out what it's all about. The Challenger went on to be a very successful executive business jet. 600, 601, and many models after that. It was delivered into the Global Business Jet, Global 7000. Then it was developed into the Canadair CRJ regional jet. Very successful Canadian design, or mostly Canadian. Somebody said Bill Lear of Learjet had a part in it. looking good. Sitting here low, you can put your kids up in the wing and get a photograph of them sitting on the wing. I've done that with my grandsons. Another one of my favorite aircraft is North American Harvard, known as the AT-6 in the U.S. Air Force, the CNJ, United States Navy. This one's painted in RCAF 402 Squadron colors, AC 301. It's a World War II advanced trainer. Pratt & Whitney radio engine on the front. It's been a pretty dry spring, and walking through this tall grass and leaves, you probably can hear the rustling. I'll have to check for Wittex today when I get home. I don't know if they're out yet, but tall grass and oak trees, it's almost a haven for Wittex. This is one of my favorite spots in the RCAF Air Force Heritage Park in Winnipeg here. What's cool in here is to get all these sidewalk pavers and inlaid with people that either made donations or remembered friends and relatives that have passed on. It's like a British Commonwealth memorial here. Thank you from New Zealand. Yeah. It's got these benches you can sit and reflect, rest on. Planters will have their flowers in soon, probably in May, once the risk of frost is gone. Wartime Pilots and Reservists Association, I think they're one of the spearheads behind this Garden of Memories. And this part is there's a wheelchair accessible ramp that you can get into the Air Force Heritage Park here in Winnipeg. Check out the airplanes. Very beautiful place. And this shows where the Commonwealth Air Training Plan bases were in Manitoba during the Second World War. Winnipeg, Gimli, Portia Prairie, McDonald, Carberry, Neepaw, Brandon, Rivers, Surus and Verdun, Paulson and Dauphin. And then there were satellite fields, Chater, Hartney, Nestle Creek. You know, I can't remember them all. A very interesting story. Big part of Canadian history, British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. Canada played a huge role in that. .410 RCF Squadron Cougars, Night Fighters Intruders flew Bolton Paul Defiance and Bristol Bullfighters and de Havilland Mosquito. Yeah, if you're in Winnipeg and you're an aviation enthusiast or history enthusiast, worth a visit. The Air Force Heritage Park. Another Ken Air 18 aviation video.